Hey guys, it's Sarah from Ugly Duckling House and welcome back to my channel. Today is a topic I'm getting asked all about for when the next update is coming, so here it is. Here's your update. This is Ruby's Revival Episode 3. I know I've made you wait a little bit, so as a reward for your patience, I've decided to turn what I was planning on Episodes 3 and 4 into one long video so you guys can get tons of updates in this episode.
In Episode 2, you may have seen the camper being raised up and down while I was washing it. That was because Kyle was working on the old rotted tires. Given that this was a 4-hour drive away, we wanted to make the most of our trip that weekend, so we wanted to wash the camper and retrieve the rims so we could bring them home and get new tires to bring with us on the next trip. Keep in mind that these tires have been sitting like this for decades, so we weren't entirely sure how long this was going to take. All we knew was that Kyle's dad had tried to get them off once before without success, so we brought down all sorts of supplies in case they didn't come off easily. It took some elbow grease and digging, but Kyle got them off after about an hour. It was a good sign because it meant that it wasn't rusted into place. During that same weekend, we got word from Kyle's parents that the property that Ruby sits on had an offer, and our timetable was moved up considerably. It meant that not only did we need to find new tires to get Ruby moving, but we'd also need to find a new spot to park it. Getting the tires off also allowed him to see what kind of shape the axle was in. That's when we got our second piece of good news, because despite the years, the axle was well greased, which meant the camper would be able to move out of this spot. Once back home, we came up with a game plan on when to return, placed an order for new tires that would fit on the old rims, and began searching for a rental lot to park Ruby closer to home. When the tires arrived, Kyle did his best to clean up the old rims before taking them to a tire shop to have the new tires fitted. Unfortunately, after visiting 2 tire shops, we found out that the rims were too rusted to provide a good seal, and we would need to place an expensive rush order to get new rims in time for our next trip down to the trailer, which was also moving day for Kyle's parents. I know, Ugly Duckling House followers, this tire story isn't all that glamorous or probably fitting for you. But this is one of the first hurdles that hit our wallet unexpectedly, so attention must be paid. Anyway, with new tires and rims and a rented truck that could tow the weight of this camper, we headed back down to Americus, Georgia. The following morning, Kyle and his dad successfully got the new tires on, and that meant it was finally time to try to move Ruby out of the wooded lot. There were tall trees and fallen debris all around the camper from last year's hurricane, with only one feasible access point for the truck and hauling it out. That single access point meant that Ruby had to do a 180-degree turn in order for the front of the camper to face the back gate of the property where the truck could drive in. This is where everyone gets nervous because this was the riskiest part. The bottom of the trailer needed to be lifted off the ground as it turned in order to avoid ripping off the aluminum skirt, which conceals the frame underneath. It was by far our most nail-biter situation. Kyle's dad was the one who came up with our plan using chains, 2 3-ton jacks, and a few 2x10s. Literally inch by inch we saw Ruby move out of the spot for the first time. It should go without saying, but this is obviously dangerous and don't try this at home, and disclaimer for entertainment purposes only. Got it? Once the trailer had turned enough, we could see what had been underneath it for those 30+ years. I believe this is an armadillo hole. As you might imagine, tensions were high and there was a lot of stressed out back and forth and plenty of moments where we thought everything was going wrong. But I also never thought I could be this happy to see the rusty old tongue of a trailer drop onto a trailer hitch like this.
Now pull up! Pull up. Put your jack in and see if it'll go up. That shit's locked in. Don't look right to me.
The moment we pulled Ruby into the open field nearby was unbelievably satisfying. We held our breath and were on pins and needles, praying that the camper would ride smoothly and not fall apart. Kyle did a test run through the field and then drove it back around to be closer to the house. He and his dad went off to get a much-needed nap while I set up a ladder, hose, and bucket to scrub the top of the camper. Since we didn't have a ladder and couldn't reach it when we did the first scrub in episode 2, I wanted it looking as good as possible before taking it out on the road. There's obviously still more grime to attempt with a pressure washer later, but I was really pleased to finally get a look at the roof. I scrubbed as far as I could reach on all sides and saw several spots on the roof where it looked like it could have had air vents and other things originally. It also helps us to understand where things may have been placed before we possibly have to do it again, so we'll have to do more research on that. Another really cool thing I discovered was what looked to be the original paint color along parts of the roof. When I mentioned this green color to Kyle, he recalled seeing the same color on the tires but assumed it wasn't original, so I thought that was pretty neat. We had a few other road-related to-dos left, starting with working brake lights. Since the rest of the trailer is aluminum, these temporary magnetic ones seemed like they might work if attached to the steel frame. But if you have your doubts, yeah, I got you. Wait for that clip later. Believe me when I say that this is a lot of figuring it out as we go. We also needed to try and locate the original trailer VINs. Not finding any of them would mean a more complicated process of trying to get a new license plate. But I'll let Kyle explain this one from our ride down.
In Georgia, you have to have a VIN number to register a trailer, and since I couldn't find a VIN number the first time we were down there, I either have to try harder this time to find the VIN number, or I have to call a cop out so he can search. If he can't find anything, then he will fill out a document saying he can't find anything. I will take that document back to the DMV. They will give me a new VIN number. I take it back, put it on the trailer, and then we have a cop come back out and survey the trailer, make sure the lights and it's sound, more or less. And once that's done, then we can finally go back to the DMV and get a tag for it.
Okay. So what option are we gonna take, you think?
Ideally, we'll try harder and find the VIN this time around. I wouldn't imagine that it would be taken off. We just have to look for it. So since it's so old, we have no idea where it's going to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's hope.
We'll see.
Our research told us that we could possibly find the trailer's ID numbers in a variety of spots. Bottom of one of the cabinet drawers in the interior, inside the door frame, along the tongue, etc. We did wind up finding them, including an assigned number like Kyle was just talking about in that last clip. This info will help us get a new tag in our county.
Don't drop the phone, don't drop the phone.
We packed up and headed out the next morning. Kyle's parents followed us behind, and we took back roads for the first hour or so, carefully monitoring how the camper was handling turns, faster speeds, and if there were any unforeseen issues from the prior test drive. Yeah, about those brake lights, I'm sure many of you thought they would fall off and get busted, and they did. Duct tape came to our rescue this time, but we are certainly going to find a more permanent solution. And finally, we made it up to the new lot that will serve as our next spot for the trailer. Since it's too large to legally park long-term near my house, we've got a long-term rental spot for now. This is much closer to my home, but we are still limited by not having a vehicle that can tow the camper around safely. So we hope to remedy that very soon, and we have a new plan for some upcoming work to do on the exterior. The new lot is close enough to check in on a regular basis. So even though we haven't had much time to work on more trailer projects over this summer, there's been some new developments that will change that this fall. We also like the lot because it allows us to get an in-person peek at lots of shiny examples at what Ruby could look like someday.
All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you very much for your patience. I hope this was worth the wait. Keep in mind that this is a long-term side project of ours, and although I am anxious to get it done, we also have tons of house projects to do too. So dividing our time is a little tricky, but rest assured that I am listening to you guys, and I know that you guys want more updates, so we are trying to get you a lot of that. So whenever I'm going to the lot to work on it, I'm taking you along for the ride. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment so that I know you want more updates. This has been a busy summer for house projects too, so hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. That'll do it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.